organizational meeting is designed to approve the proposed organizational resolutions, which have been circulated to the town and the town board. And I would like to request comments or questions from town board members before we move any further. Any comments or questions about the organizational resolutions as presented? Hope so.
My only comment is that we have a lot of committees and there are a lot of wonderful people that have stepped up to be on this committee.
Yeah, you're very lucky. We have a very active community.
And boards.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I just want to point out, and I'm sure you all know, there are some major changes to some of our important boards. Jamie has stepped down as chair of CAT and is being replaced by David Dumbo and Jane Meggs as co-chairs. John Ingram has resigned as chair of the planning board. And we are proposing that Joe Proctor be named chair and Aaron Robinson be named vice chair. Susan Flam has stepped down as chair of Climate Smart Community Task Force. And Climate Smart Community Task Force will be co-chaired by Colleen and Joe Brown. Hi, Colleen. Well, those are the significant leadership changes, and we've got one other change on the planning board. Jim Stickle has submitted his resignation. So we are proposing that both of the alternates on the planning board, and the Colleen and Phil Pack, be appointed regular members. We have been trying to recruit new alternate members. Gotten a couple of expressions of interest, but disappointingly small number. Those are the highlights of the major organizational changes. Jay, you mentioned something about the ZBA wanting a regularly scheduled meeting.
Yes, I did speak with John Ingram, while he was still chair, Joe Bracco, as well as Steve, and I told the members of the ZBA. That was one of the things that was contained in Leanne's draft recommendation. The consensus was to have it as close as possible to the planning board meeting. So the first Monday, unfortunately, that was with the CAC meeting. So is that okay, or is that?
We don't have any people on the same board.
No, I'm thinking about space.
Oh, they can't, one can be in here, one can be in there, but they're not meeting. Don't you have to be our CF Monday?
The CRP doesn't get up.
Meeting.
Well, does it meet on first Monday? Yeah.
Yeah. That would be in- we're gonna- Yeah.
So we have 3 meetings.
People look at it. And actually,
Yeah, so it seems like we're going to see
letter, I may text both Steve Olea and Joe Bracco and see if they could do the 4th Monday. This small matter, be able for.
Okay. Text them now. Right, well, we can always amend these resolutions next month. That's what they want to do. I would say let's meet this meeting this time, and then if we get a resolution, how we can get 3 meetings done, or get them moved to another day, then we can amend these resolutions.
Or the comment earlier, yes, if the only or the best resolution for the ZBA conflict is that they have it on a particular Monday, I could see where the ZRC would be regularly except for that Monday and use that as a catch-up time for just if it becomes.
I will definitely keep that under advisement, but I think there are enough moving parts here that we should just be like we did other proposals.
Fair enough.
Sorry, I just got a text saying that he wasn't going to hear you or people in the audience. That's just our.
Michael, is there anything we can do to improve the sound? Okay, let's take a 2-minute pause and Michael will check the sound.
Yeah, that's
Okay, and those of you who want to hear me now.
Only 3 people.
Art, you're still garbled. You're just, it's just coming across as garbled.
All right, well, the technology is not our friend. Is there anything we can do, Michael, about that speaker? Move it closer, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. So let's just put this down and see if that's gonna work.
All right, but they
Okay.
they won't be able to hear people in the audience.
We can hear Art, we can hear you just fine now.
Okay, that's good, thank you.
Much
Okay,
better, much better.
good.
Art, I kind of backtracking, well, I'm sorry, can we take thanks for, town justices, can we take the feedback out? We don't have any account there.
Oh, we don't? Okay, that's good.
That was just a credit card, place for,
Well, wait now, what page are you on? You're on page 1?
oh, page 2, sorry.
Page 2.
Third line down, town justice, police department, going to the bank and bank.
Just Bank of Green County.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Good. David, welcome. We are going through the organizational resolutions and people are commenting. Do you have any comments on the organizational resolutions?
My one comment is about our, the town paper. I have issues with the fact that we have, a reporter who pays who lives in town and pays their taxes in town and makes most of our news artists. I sometimes think they're slanted by her opinions and everything, and they're not so objective. I make a motion that we are, I think we should look at another paper myself.
Well, we do have the Register Star and the Columbia paper. Primarily because those are the 2 papers that most people read. But you're proposing that we eliminate the Columbia paper
Yes,
as an official paper. Okay, does anybody else have any thoughts about that?
Disagree. I don't think there is another paper, local paper that people read.
you talk to the Millerton News all the time.
They don't really cover it from that one.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, so we have David's proposal that we eliminate the Columbia paper. And we'll take that as a motion. Why don't we just do a quick roll call vote?
You have a second.
Don't have a second. Somebody like to second? Do you want a second?
No.
Amy? Bonnie. Okay, just so we can get a vote, I'll second it. Let's do a roll call vote, Ruth.
Councilperson, Hunt? No. Councilperson Gold?
No.
Supervisor Basson?
No,
Councilman Boyce?
Yes.
Councilman Clark?
No.
okay, thank you. The motion is not approved, so we'll keep the Columbia paper. But thank you, David. Any other comments or questions about the organizational resolutions? If not, would, let me just ask, for those of you, those four of you who are on Zoom, any comments or questions on the organizational resolutions? No? No. Okay, so let me ask, if the town board has any further comments or questions before we take this to a vote? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the organizational resolutions? Amy, thank you. You second? Further comments or questions? If not, please move a roll call. Oh, hang on, Tom.
Real quick question. The people on Zoom, are they town council members?
No.
They're not. How come you didn't ask the audience for questions? You asked the people on Zoom if they had any comments or questions.
Yes, I'm sorry, Tom, you're absolutely right. Anybody in the audience have any comments or questions?
Sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure that I was playing. But, so, yeah, I mean, the question of the local paper, we're still on that, correct?
Well, whatever you want, Tom.
Yeah, on the question of the local paper, what's wrong with the Register Star?
Nothing. We have the Register Star. We have two papers of record.
Oh,
The
good.
Register Star and the Columbia.
Oh,
paper.
good, okay, good. Understood. Thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions from any members of the audience? Tom, thank you for reminding me of that. It's very important. Okay, so we had a motion and a second to approve the organizational resolutions, and now we're going to do a roll call vote.
Councilman Clark?
Yes.
Councilman Boyce?
Yes.
Supervisor Basson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gold? Yeah. And Councilwoman?
Okay, the organizational resolutions have been approved, subject to the removal of Key Bank as a justice depository, and with the recognition that we will modify for the ZBA once that is clarified. Thank you all very much. I get a motion to adjourn the organizational meeting, please. All in favor? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you. The regular board meeting starts at 7 o'clock, which is in about 1 minute. So everybody can just relax for a minute. Yeah, it's not.
For some reason.
Yeah.
It's 7 o'clock. I would like to call the regular January town board meeting of the Yankton Town Board to order. Please join me for a salute to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the and to the republic for which it stands, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Well, thank you all very much for being here. It's great to see a large turnout for a rainy night. First item on our agenda is a recusal check. Any board members have any items that they must recuse themselves from tonight?
Do I need to recuse myself from the firefighter property tax exemption thing?
You probably should recuse yourself if it comes to a vote, but you certainly should comment on it because you have intimate knowledge of that whole process. So is that okay?
Up to you guys.
Everybody okay with that? Okay. First item on the agenda is to approve the December town board meeting minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at those? Can I get a motion on please? Moving second, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the CAC annual report. Jamie, are you going to be doing that as the auditor?
This will be my last time. I'm gonna take my mask off because I don't think anybody will remember. Yeah, so we met every month in 2022. And regarding the planning board, we have 2 members that are on the planning board that come to CAC and tell us what's going on and have sought our advice. And we provided reviews for the Fulton Forbes Bottle Tree site, the Iron Star development, and the Velasquez property. For Iron Star, we provided 2 substantial reviews, including a comprehensive response to the environmental assessment form, which if you've ever looked at it, it's very lengthy. With 18 detailed questions. That was a long report that we did. For also regarding the planning board last October in 2021, we kind of put together a memo of our recommendations, calling for more substantive environmental reviews of applications, more rigorous discussions around protecting the environment to the maximum extent possible, and better adherence to due process. We credit JL for improving our communications with the CAC and planning board, and she has attended multiple CAC meetings and been a really good liaison. Thank you, JL. We're very optimistic about Nan's recent review and her recommendations to have professional planners and engineers involved, like with that Iron Star. That was a really good example and went really well in terms of environmental review and a lot of discussion. So we look forward in 2023 to meeting with the planning board and talking about how we can have a better relationship. And Colleen continues to work on the overlays for the natural resource map. Yeah, thank you. We have been recommending better. We have all these great new zoning regulations, but now it's about implementing them and making them happen. And as we saw a lot of development in 2022, we also from the roadside could see some violations going on. And you know, Velasquez was one that was a very obvious one, with no stormwater protection, steep slopes, and more tree cutting than was agreed upon by the planning board. So having that, you know, enforced better and people sticking to what they're agreed to do is something that's really important. Colleen's she's a busy woman. She started a water characterization plan. And that involves participants from Gallatin, Taconic, and Copay. And that's going to be a great, doing a plan for the Roseanne watershed that's going to help put us in line for some nice potential grant money for improvements, environmental improvements. The CRC, as they wrapped up this phase of their work, our contributions this year were limited. And Wally, we have one member who's really digging into forest management and conservation. And there's a long appendix of all the courses he's taking, and he's really really getting himself educated so he can help the town and us advise on how to do better forest conservation. We prepared a memo to the town on what residents can do to conserve water use and improve our resilience to drought, given that we had a serious drought this year. And we supported aquifer protection and James Kennedy's initiative to do a water well study in the Hamlet Aquifer. We followed the good work of the Climate Smart Community Task Force and reviewed and supported some recommendations for climate resilient projects in Ancrum. And bravo to Ancrum for becoming a bronze level climate smart community. We worked with other Columbia County CACs to distribute a brochure on how to sensitively build a house, with consideration of the land. And I think JL has some of those in the office if anybody wants to see one tonight. I should have brought mine in, they're in the car. We started doing amphibian crossings at night, so if you saw us out with flashlights, I think it was mostly me, but we want to get more people doing that, and that's when there's big crossings of salamanders and frogs, and a lot of them get squished because they make their big moves on warm, rainy nights. So if you get out and move them across the road, you can save, quite a big, otherwise a big killing at particular locations in Ancrum. And some of you probably know these locations. You might have seen a lot of dead frogs or hopping frogs in some places, and those are the hot spots. So we hope to get more public involved in that, because it's fun. You feel like you're saving somebody. You do all this policy stuff, and then you want to do something real like that. Right? We made recommendations to the town-held property regarding the care of the birch trees and how to manage this little blue stem meadow. I don't know if you guys noticed those grasses that come up in the meadow, and they have like a red, wonderful kind of a red cinnamon color right now. Well, they support a lot of really important butterflies. And if we manage them properly, like doing a mowing at a certain time, we can really turn that meadow into having a lot more of those grasses. We gained a new member, Jay Lorenz, who's has a background in environmental regulatory review and wetland protection. So building on our really solid group. And this year we have 2 members that are willing to co-chair. That's Jane. Stand up, Jane, so everybody knows who you are, and David. And I will ask you now to all have your first, when you send emails to me, they not go to them.
And David.
David, co-chair them both. So I'm really, really happy to have them take on this job, and it means a lot to me to have a little relief, and maybe I can do more salamander crossings and other things I'd like to do. We post our minutes on the Ancrum website, and we did the sexual harassment training, and we attended the planning board training that was really good that Nan did in December. And Jane has taken courses on habitat assessment, and Wally's taken 15 courses that are in the appendix here. And for 2023, we would like our budget to go towards Nan doing more of those great trainings. Those are really helping the town, we think. We'll continue to do planning board site plan reviews, but we really hope that there's more professional planners doing that, so we don't really want to have to do that. We'd rather do other things than that. So, but we're here if we're needed, for environmental sensitive sites. We want to do some memos on reducing lawn chemicals and lawns, and we want to keep urging the town to take advantage of available grant money for energy conservation, and we want to make some recommendations on forest preservation in town, and the possibility of creating critical environmental area. And we want to work with the zoning visions committee on updating the scenic overlay zone regs so they're in compliance with the rest of the update zoning. That's all, and my husband said, don't forget to tell them that there's gonna be a quiz about all this.
Thank you, Jamie. That report to me,
Would I what?
could you email that report to me? So we can,
I emailed it to all of you. Oh, which report?
the one you just read,
Really? I emailed it to all of you
I
last
don't-
week.
I don't remember getting it.
Oh, what happened?
No, but please send it around to us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you very much.
I thought you all had it.
Yes, Jane,
Is this a good time for me to?
yes.
Yes, okay. I have a few remarks about our intrepid CAC chair and leader, and, although we're sad she's leaving us, we're thrilled that she will stay on the CAC and continue to work with us. I just wanted to say that, you know, it would take volumes to, describe all of her accomplishments as the founding chair of the Anchorage CAC. She worked with others, but she was the founding chair and started the group in 2010. She developed and led work on our comprehensive plan, our natural resource conservation plan, the biodiversity habitat maps, and she made key contributions to some zoning revisions. She is always so generous in applying her many landscaping research and writing talents to preserve our historic farming community and to protect Ancrum's rich and varied natural resources, to promote long-term resiliency, public health, and well-being. Protecting the environment is about more than just the birds and the bees and the trees. It's our own well-being that's at stake here. What we have always seen from Jamie is dedicated leadership and hard work across so many fronts. Whether she was gathering data on frogs and salamander road crossings on wet and dreary early spring nights. And I didn't do any of that, by the way. I didn't want to get out there and deal with the traffic, whatever. Water sampling in the Rojan involving landowners and mapping, writing and editing numerous educational articles, sending out online information, working with the planning board, fielding conservation questions from the public, giving landscape advice, moderating CAC discussions, and getting CAC members to take on projects. Jamie did it all. And she provided leadership to many throughout our region. She worked with on the CAC, the EMC, which is the Environmental Management Council, and she's worked so hard, and really other CACs in Columbia County have benefited from her leadership and her many projects. And because of her and all others as well, but she led us through this period, and we are known as an exemplary conservation advisory council in Columbia County, which is. She did this all with a balanced approach, determination, and good humor. And we're so thrilled she's going to stay on with us to continue to contribute her insights and her experience. And it's going to take two of us to do the job that Jamie did so well. So congratulations to Jamie, and many thanks for her hard work and achievements. And here's a gift from the town to you.
Oh, thank you.
It is a tree of life on a baking platter from the Berkshire Pottery.
Wow.
Jane, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I have the honor and pleasure of providing this resolution of appreciation for Jamie. It is resolved that the town of Ancrum, the Ancrum Town Board recognizes and appreciates the valuable contributions that Jamie Currington has made to the town of Ancrum over the 12 years of her public service as chair of the Ancrum Conservation Advisory Council. The Ancrum Town Board thanks Jamie for her commitment to the Ancrum community, wishes her continued success in all her future activities, and looks forward to her continued participation in town and community activities.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, thank you, Jane, and Jamie, thank you. And before we move on, any town board members have any questions or comments about Jamie's presentation? Or James' presentation?
Art, let me chime in here. It is highly unusual when people come particularly to the ZRC, but to other town committees, that their suggestions, their concerns, their complaints are couched in anything other than general terms. One of the valuable pieces of advice, if you will, that I would give and have given already to Jane and to David is that they be specific, as Jamie has been, in identifying the problems that she perceives or that the committee perceives, the reasons that those are problems, and the suggestions for correcting the perceived problem. You give it to us in specifics. We may agree, we may disagree, but we have something that we can focus upon, and that has been a valuable contribution unto itself. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. I have to say, though, that we're 11 strong with really good scientists and researchers and editors, and, you know, it's everybody contributing.
So anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Anybody on Zoom have any questions or comments?
No.
Okay. Jamie, thank you. Moving on. Next item on the agenda is the firefighter property tax exemption. As probably most of you know, will you pass this around on your side of the table? The New York State passed a law in December authorizing municipalities and school boards to provide up to a 10% reduction in property tax valuations for eligible firefighters. And the eligibility is either 2 to 5 years, depending on the municipality and the school board's decision, 2 to 5 years of service as a firefighter or an ambulance person, and certification from the governing board of that individual's firefighter or ambulance organization. The town of Ancrum has, I've prepared, thanks to the Association of Towns, I've prepared a draft local law number 2 of the year 2023, which is a proposed local law that will give a 10% property valuation reduction exemption to firefighters who have at least 2 years of service as certified by their organization, and also provide a lifetime exemption of 10% for firefighters who have served 20 years or more as a volunteer firefighter as certified by their organization. I present this local law to the town board for consideration. And we will, if the board agrees, schedule a public hearing next month at the February board meeting. And we'll consider this for adoption following that public hearing. So what I'd like to do is open this up to questions and comments from the town board, and then from the audience, and then from Zoom. So anybody on the town board have any questions or comments about this?
David, you're probably in the best position to give us all a summary of the problem, the effects, and how this might alleviate some of the problem.
I definitely have some thoughts on this. I think it's a very good step to help out with our volunteer fire organizations, especially here in the town of Ancrum. I do think it's lacking in certain areas. I would urge the town to enact this. It's going to help a number of our firemen and our past firemen. You all know we have a length of service awards program, in place that the state has allowed us to put in and fund. I was a little concerned about that because the length of service awards program helps current firefighters and future firefighters, but it didn't help past firefighters. And this new thing kind of alleviates some of that. It helps some past firefighters and gives them some benefit for the things they've done. But this new law, I'm a little concerned in certain things, especially here in Ankrum. We have a large number of husbands and wives who are members in our fire company. And by virtue of doing this the way it is, we're not recognizing our full membership, because a husband and wife who own one sole property, they both don't receive a benefit. They just receive the benefit that another person from another family would receive. We also have sitting in our audience, a father and a daughter who are both active members. So, you know, we don't recognize that type of membership as well. So there are a lot of things where this is another good step, another good tool to retain members and everything. I don't think it's a huge step to recruit new members, but I do think it's a good way to retain members and actually help out the members who are available. I have a thing, I sent a copy of it to Art in this year's State of the State. Governor Hochul had one section for volunteer fire departments that serve approximately 9 million New Yorkers, which is nearly half of the state's population. In recent years, however, more than 3/4 of the departments that serve these 9 million people have reported a decrease in the number of individuals willing to volunteer and serve. At the same time, there has been a significant increase of 29% in the calls that these people are responding to. Also, there are two factors that have resulted in a significant increase in calls. The largest one is mutual aid. Because of the decreased numbers, mutual aid has increased in New York State 151% in between 2000 and 2020. In the rest of the nation, it has only gone up 61%. This has caused a significant strain on the resources and personnel from volunteer and career fire companies in New York State. To boost recruitment and retention, Governor Hochul has proposed legislation to allow communities to pay a modest compensation for eligible volunteer firefighters, and also create a state fund to pay for training. And I think these are things that we need to consider as well. They call it a stipend, where they actually pay a small amount per call and for your training. And I think these things, this will alleviate some of the other things. We have a lot of volunteers who rent and who are not homeowners and who don't pay property taxes. And as I said, we've got a bunch of husbands and wives who this 10% is really gonna, one of them doesn't get their benefit per se, or you only get 50% of your benefit. So I think there's more we can do because of the dynamics of every volunteer fire company. They're all different. They all have different membership and different responsibilities and things. So I think this should be enacted. I think we should pursue this, but I think we also need to talk and look for other things, because there's a lot of calls where we're pretty stressed and we could use more guys and we need more members. And there just are not members out there. People are not beating down our doors to join the fire company. Our training, as it states in the State of the State, training is really kind of unbearable to become a new volunteer member. We have some new members and they're taking their training and working hard at it, but anything we can do to increase our membership and our participation would be a really good thing, and any benefits these guys could get. There's a lot of people out here that I see that have got 35, 40 years in the fire company. And, you know, that's the norm. That's not the exception for most fire companies around. This time also, for the first time in 4 years, the Anchor Fire Company is gonna hold our annual banquet in March. And I'd like to invite all the town board members to be there. We always have you guys, it's a good time, and let you see our members and what goes on. We've had some very active years, even though we haven't been able to get together. We got a lot of things we're gonna go over and do.
Good, thank you, David. Other board members, comments, questions?
Thank you. Thank you, David. I think those are, points that a lot of us didn't recognize. And I agree with your assessment that more needs to be done. Yeah, I agree. Anything else that you can bring to the board specifically that we can discuss and take on, I'm more than happy to. We're so appreciative of all the firefighters and what they do. And it's probably well more than we know. So thank you.
When I saw this electronically, just a very short time ago, there was also an application or a draft application form with it. Am I correct that that application form is going to be massaged to match with the law? It seemed to me there were features in that did not match this particular resolution.
Yeah, that is, an exemption application form that was circulated by the Columbia County Real Property Office. I don't know if we can modify it or not, or whether it is just something that covers the entirety of.
It seemed to be a generic rather than
Yeah.
tailored to this particular need.
Well, I think one of the things we're gonna do over the next month is learn a lot more about the implementation of this program. Because it is still very much unclear, as to how it works. David's point about husband, wife, father, daughter, those kinds of issues, whether there can be a double exemption or not, that needs to be pinned down. So there's a lot of work to be done, but I think in the short run, what I'd like to do is get the board's concurrence to schedule a public hearing on this, do some more homework between now and February, modify this if necessary after the public hearing, and move forward. I think David's points about what the state can do in addition to this are critical. And this is certainly a good step, but it's not the only step. And I think we need to put pressure on our state representatives to continue to move this thing along and to make it as powerful as we can possibly make it. So I think we're all in agreement on that. Any other comments from members of the audience? Tom?
I want to say, Dave stole all of my good comments as usual. And I want to recognize Dave. Us firefighters know this. I want to recognize Dave. He's got 33 years as the fire chief here in town, and I believe that's the longest one in the county. I believe.
By far, yeah.
By far. So, and we really have benefited. The whole town have benefited from that. So I'm gonna make. The other thing I want to say is, you know, it must have been like 12 or 15 years ago, I was reading some article, and in this article, it made mention how employment across the state and things like that. And with this one little blurb that said, you know, volunteer organizations are very important. And then it said that the average age of a volunteer firefighter in New York State, and this was like at least 10, 11 years ago, was 63 years of age. And I read that and I was like, and then I thought about our fire company at the time, you know, Warren, you know, and myself, and not Terry yet, but, you know, and I said, gosh, that's so true. We've got to do something. So this is what you guys understand, you know, I get to see people from around the state, and this is all over the place. And we're going to have a big problem. And I also know that, if I'm correct or not, Massachusetts has done this stipend thing. Our neighbors have done it because they see what's going on. They know what's happening. So they've already started it. So just throw it out, you know, as a point of information.
Connecticut also does it too.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Yes,
David mentioned that the training and how much it costs. And there's a lot of things that he couldn't think about. We have to supply getting them to the training. They have to have a training center. Then they go through all this training, which we pay to do as commissioners and tax money. And they're qualified to be paid firemen now. So sometimes that goes on. Is that correct, David? You can train.
We have, quite honestly, the training they're giving volunteer firemen right now, once you're finished, you're qualified to be a paid fireman, and we have guys that are leaving this area.
That's right.
We've had guys that leave and go down to North Carolina, South Carolina, different places, and become paid firemen. So we're training them for nothing. I mean, our state is paying for it, but our fire companies, our volunteer fire companies, we sponsor them, they go get trained, and then they leave to go become paid firemen. So, you know, and it's a tough deal, and there's a lot of things with families, the dynamics of being a family, being a young family. That all of a sudden is gonna have children, gonna have other different, parameters handed to you. Your volunteers can't always function the way they expect it to. It's really, pretty amazing that the volunteer service has flourished as long as it has and provides what it does. And I'm just so proud all the time to be a member with these guys. Every day they come out. I sent you guys an email about the fact these guys were out, on Christmas Eve when it was 2 degrees and the wind chill was 18 below, and went to a structure fire, and they came out, and, you know, it's amazing what they do day in and day out. And I don't think, they get enough credit for what they do. And, it's pretty amazing what our volunteer services do. And we're becoming an endangered species in this, especially in this area, just because of the dynamics of our people that live here now, people moving in, that, you know, our weekenders and stuff, they're not participating in these organizations for one reason or another. I mean, the training is exceptionally difficult. There's a lot of things that involve, you know, the dynamics are something that, we are struggling to keep ourselves, relevant.
I want to add to that you're on the right, that the state, the town, the counties are on the right track. But you can't forget the people that aren't landowners. You can't forget the people that have a wife or a daughter or somebody that the family is saying, does the fire companies. I know it's a start, and I know it's got a lot of ironing to do. But it really did in and try to get some help from the state and help from the tax money to help these guys out.
Sure. Thank you.
Is there anything we can do as a town to help with recruitment? And how do you go about that?
Well, there's a lot of different things for recruiting, but the reality of it is, all the members have to meet the training. And we have certain things we have to do. As I said, the LoSAP program was put in place quite some time ago, and they thought that was gonna be a big recruitment tool and everything, and it's turned out to be a retention tool. But it has not turned out to be a big recruitment tool. Guys are staying in longer, because of it, but they're not joining. You know, young kids, young people, they're not worried about that retirement out there or anything for something like that. Quite honestly, you know, this 10% off your assessed valuation, I think is gonna be more of a retention tool, not a recruitment tool, because young people don't own places. They're not gonna join because they can get 10% off their assessed valuation. They don't own it. So, you know, this is gonna keep us guys that are 60 years old in for another 10 years. Because we wanna get our 10% off and keep going. You know, I'm gonna keep us plugging. That's what it's gonna do. It's not gonna bring in new people. That's why I would really encourage. I think we need to look into it, as far as the town, as far as the fire district, if legally we could offer a stipend situation, not if the state doesn't do it, can we do it? Because I think that might be something. I've talked to Art for years and mentioned that I believe one of the biggest, recruitment tools for volunteer firefighters would be if some way we could figure out to offer them health insurance. I know a lot of, private contractors, a lot of people out there that are working a second job to pay for their health insurance because they pay for their own health insurance. And if they didn't have to, if they could be part of the fire company and get their health insurance, they wouldn't have to work that second job and they might have time to be part of our organization and would willingly do it. But quite honestly, that's not available to them right now. I think that would be a huge deal. I know how much I pay every year just for my own health insurance, and I know there's guys in this room doing the same thing, and that would be a big deal for them. There are things that we could do as a town. I think that we need to research what legally we can do to encourage these people, because there's a limited number out there, and we need to get every one of them.
You know if any other towns are doing this, the health insurance or private?
I know we've all talked about it. I don't know if any are, the fire chiefs, we all get together, we all talk about different things. We mentioned it, but I don't know how many are pursuing it actively.
I know, Rob mentioned Dutchess County is looking at it.
Well, I know Dutchess County, the whole county is pursuing it. So I believe there are legal things, there are legalities that allow you to do it as a municipal entity. I think the state is looking at doing it just statewide, so then they can say it's in place, go ahead and use it. But I think towns and counties can do it on their own if they really, it's the same thing as a local law.
Yeah.
So I think these are things we need to look into, because as I said last month, I think it would scare us when we would see if our volunteer fire company were not operating.
Yes,
I was just thinking, if I'm 17, I've been an active member, I think at least almost 2 years now. And there are a lot of people my age that I think don't understand enough about the fire department. So I believe if we educate them and explain it a little bit more, we could possibly get more members.
good idea. Different skill systems involved in communicating this.
Take anybody of any age?
We start with our junior fireman at 16 years of age. There are other companies, there are some places that start with explorers, which are younger, but our company and our bylaws, our youngest is 16.
Other comments? Yes,
Yeah,
Will.
Art, I just really appreciate that the town board is addressing this so quickly. I think it's really important, I mean, it seems like, recently, just with the way prices are going right now, every time I get in my vehicle to run up to the firehouse or to a call or any way that I know that it's gonna be compensated in some other area is really helpful. And I have a daughter in college and I know that, something's gonna be reduced in another area, it really helps. So, anything addressed like that is really helpful to me. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I would hope to look at is what David had mentioned before about, I know you have husband and wife, but there are couples that actually put in their time. Colleen is one, Willie is another, myself, Dave. There's not many, but there are, and I would love for that to be looked at and considered. I know that's a lot to ask, but they're equal input into the fire company.
Absolutely.
If they achieve their active status, which I do with the LoSAP program, so when they achieve their active status and go on with that, it shouldn't be slighted almost. Just that I know we're in the same household, but we both give up our time. So if we could consider that, that would be wonderful.
Yep. Good.
And you then put in a lot of time as the training and safety officer.
All the other little things.
Right. And you should be commended as well as David and, if you go hand in hand, and I don't think the fire company would rather be the one of you than I am. Well, I think so. That's my opinion, that's my thoughts, and I just wanted to say thank you very much. I've seen what you guys do.
Just a question, because I just don't really know, the current veterans tax credit, how does that work as far as if you had a household with two veterans that were active?
Oh, I talked to someone earlier about that today, only one.
Just wondering, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that decision about the firefighter exemption has been made yet. I've talked to Suzette Bowie about that, and it's unclear. You know, she's kind of going back and forth trying to find out. Nobody's really pinned that one down, but I think we'll keep pushing that string until we find a way to make that happen, I think.
I feel like the veterans one.
Did you talk to her?
Yeah.
I think we should push it for veterans too.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying, yeah, I'm just thinking that as a. No, really, I mean, because I looked at some of that, veterans have an exemption now.
Yeah, well, veterans have had exemption for a very long time.
Right.
Years.
It's only on school tax, correct?
No, I think it's.
Oh, it's on both?
We've got a town tax.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Okay, other comments or questions? From the audience, from Zoom, anybody on Zoom have anything to say about this?
Nobody's raising their hand.
We're ready. But actually, I really support like what Jen just said about, I mean, because looking at, being in the firehouse and just watching these couples like Colleen and Will and Dave and Jen, I mean, and also Johanna and
Alex.
yeah, and Alex. I mean, there's so many couples that, and I think, if they're gonna give 10% or definitely have 10% per person per household. So that would be 20% for couples, because without them, there would be no firehouse. So it's just,
Right.
and also I really think that's a great idea about insurance. If they can get that would be a really good for young people, to get as a pipeline, because I think that would be the best thing, because it benefits like healthcare, something, to kind of like get people, get them in a pipeline.
Yep. Good. Okay. Yes, Amy.
Yeah, I would just like to say, thank you to all of you for coming up tonight and bringing these very critical points, to the floor. And I think I can assure you on behalf of everybody on the town board that this will be addressed.
Okay, from the town board now, can I get a motion to accept the local law number 2 as an item for a public hearing at our next board meeting?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Right.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so we'll put this on the agenda for next month as a public hearing and further discussion. Thank you all very much. David, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you all. Next item is committee updates. The first is Strategic Investment Committee. And my understanding is we don't have anybody from the Strategic Investment Committee prepared to do a report. Steve, are you on Zoom?
No.
No, okay.
Julio, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
No, he's not there. Okay. So we will hopefully get, I know that they did not have a meeting this month. They'll have a meeting in February. Hopefully we'll get a report from them at the February meeting. Waiting for respectful behavior. We have final drafts of the code of conduct and an incident report. And we also have a draft of a revised harassment policy, which we'll do separately. But on the code of conduct and incident report, anybody on the board have any questions or comments about that?
Just to avoid confusion, as I mentioned at our last meeting, on page 4, section 7, process for investigation of reports. You're asking in this erroneous text to drop off a sealed envelope addressed to the CCRC here. I suggest that be changed, as we have talked before, to the current acronym.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Any other questions or comments? Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments about this? Anybody on Zoom?
No.
Okay, what about the incident report? Any questions or comments about that? If not, could I get a motion to approve the code of conduct and the incident report with the corrections suggested by Mr. Clark? And we have a resolution that basically states resolved that the Anchorage Board approves the proposed code of conduct and the incident report as modified and directs the town supervisor to incorporate them into the employee handbook.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much. We're down to the town supervisor report. The financials for December have not yet been finalized. We just got today information on what our fourth quarter sales tax check will be. It turns out it's going to be $110,000, which is $1,000 more than we got in December, the second quarter of 2021. So it's kind of flat to last year. The aggregate amount of sales tax this year is close to $420,000, which is close to last year and above the budget, which was $345,000. So it was a very good year for sales tax. Our budget for 2023 is $420,000, which is about the same as what we did this year. So hopefully, if the economy does not collapse, we will basically be filling around $420,000 again. All of the other financials are pretty much as we expected. The T-bill program is working pretty well. 1 month T-bills are now about 4.4%, 3 month T-bills 4.6%, and 6 month T-bills about 4.75%. So we're rolling our cash into T-bills. We just got back in January, first half of January, $500,000 of T-bill investments we made last year. Tomorrow or Monday, I will reinvest that money over the next 1 to 3 to 4 months. And we're looking for $30,000 or $40,000 in interest income out of the T-bill program this year compared to what the banks are paying, which is like 10 or 20 basis points. So this, which is, yeah. I think the budget was 30, but that was based on the assumption that we would have a 3% T-bill yield. That's really over 4.5 now. So the one unknown, and I will let you all know this, and you can all worry about it like I do, is what's going to happen with this debt ceiling plunge and what that's going to do to interest rates over the next period of time. I don't think anybody knows. The bond market seems to think it's not a big problem because long-term rates are going down, but you never know. So if they don't get this resolved in the next couple of months, that could be an issue. The one other thing I wanted to bring up, I got a note from a student at Pine Plains who was asking about the playground at the town hall. I'm sorry, at the town pool. And the question was, how come we've let it get into such bad shape and shouldn't we fix it up? So I told her in my response that I would bring this up to the town board and see what the sense of the board was, whether we should invest in replacing that playground or whether we should just remove it. So I open that up for questions and comments from the board.
Having been involved with playground and the town pool for a couple of years.
For as long as you've been fire chief?
Longer. I think we'd make a huge mistake if we don't replace and upgrade that playground. Unless you're planning to move the pool, which I don't see that happening.
Okay.
We have how many people there each year for swimming lessons? And invariably, you've got a parent there with one child in swimming lessons and another one there that's out on the playground. And then we'd be making a huge mistake if we don't take care of the playground and make it better.
Okay, other thoughts?
What would it take in terms of budget?
Quite honestly. What we have right now would look a lot better if we just painted it, cleaned it up and made it a little better, but I mean, I think actually, Ruth, when you were involved with the youth commission and we did the playground out here, we had a plan for putting a section down there at the pool. We had prices and everything. I don't know where that went to.
It's in the file cabinet in the courtroom.
So we've actually got a whole, I think it's like a quarter of that playground out there
Yeah.
designed to go down there. We just,
That playground out there was $90,000 that the youth commission, David, myself, Colleen, Monica, Allison Kozlowski, Helen, who else? Your wife Janice was on there for a while, Bob Wilcox. Took us at least 3.5, almost 4 years to fundraise all the money. We did everything that we could, just squeeze pennies out of everybody. And, you know, and I'm proud of that. And I can sit in my office in the springtime and the summertime on a Saturday with the window open and I can hear the kids out there. And it just, I don't know, it just makes me very happy to realize that all of us put in effort and we made a huge difference in the town. Not a lot of towns have playgrounds, not a lot of towns have, well, not many at all have a pool. But that was our big debate too, of do we put it at the town hall or do we put it down by the pool? And in talking to the town board in all of our planning, it came that, you know, this building was built to serve as a community center. So we felt that it would be better off putting the playground up here. Was it the right decision? I don't know, because again, you have the equipment down at the pool that's over 50 years old or more that needs either replacing, upgrading.
it's time to replace.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's,
You wanna make a motion then?
yes. Is there a second?
I actually looked into, like a new swing set, similar to what we have, actually, because we didn't want a whole lot of posts. Because, where it is, you need so much clearance. So at one time, the swing set used to face a different way, and the health department made us, we were able to turn it, let's see, 90 degrees and make it work. So I just looked into it, we have similar swing set that we can have with just the 2 posts, and I'm sure we can get a small unit for there. It's probably time. It probably is, you know, but, whether we should do it or not, I gotta tell you, when those kids are waiting to get into the pool, that is one place they can play. First of all, it's safe, it keeps them busy, it keeps them out of everybody's hair. Keeps the pool a little bit safer, because what you're doing is you have your swimming lessons going on, and you don't have kids coming in and out. That's why the fence is there, to be a controlled unit as well during the swim lessons. So I would say putting a small unit there would be a good idea.
Okay, good. Colleen?
Something I just remember from when we were designing this out here, and one of the issues why we chose to go here was because of the site constraint down there. And these are all designed with clearances that are around them, so it's based on the size of the structure. And legally, like, that company has to have like this type of fall distance, they call it. So I definitely think it's something we can do. We just need to maybe alter our current plan a little bit to make sure it fits in there, because I know you need access, emergency access. There's always the lifeguard parking, there's all of that. You have a really small area with a lot going on. So, but I think it would definitely be something that we should do. Because yeah, when you're a parent with 2 kids and one's in lessons, it's a godsend to have something there that you can do with the other.
Yes, no.
I recommend no metal slide, because when the kids go down and it sounds like thunder, or you think a big truck is going by and they're gonna come running into the pool. So I say no metal slide when you pick out whatever you choose.
But look, let me just get the town board for this. We have a motion, and is there a second?
What is this that you are
Well,
talking about
this
doing?
is replace the playground down there at the design and cost TBD by a committee that I think we will appoint tonight.
with a comparable unit.
Yeah.
Now, you know,
We're not gonna make the decision to do it until we see the numbers and the design.
just a swing set and a slide, right?
there's a swing set and a slide and a little bit of
Monkey.
Like a
monkey bars, something to climb on.
So the motion, I'd like to modify David's motion to be, the town board approves designing and costing out a replacement for the playground equipment at the town pool. And
Last field. Last field. Yeah, it's last
the
field.
last field, the town pool. And designate a committee to investigate the best design and present a proposal to the town board next month or in March for final approval.
At a scale commensurate with what is currently there.
Yes. Exactly.
And there's still, discussion of pavilion there too, right? Well, we don't know yet.
There are some people who are talking, but that, in my mind, is not a viable or a necessary option. But again,
But, I mean,
they will present their ideas when they're ready to.
the engineer did look at it, right?
They did. So let's stick with this
The playground.
playground first.
Is the youth commission still active? No.
Hey,
Say again?
Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right, so,
Carol has a question.
yes, Carol.
I would like to, just remind you that the pavilion committee, if they're considering Blast Field, or if that's one of the considerations, when they talk to the designer, the idea of having the playground down at Blast Field came up. So if this committee starts to work, just be sure that they coordinate with the pavilion committee and what's going on there so that work is not duplicated.
Carol, I think what we're talking about is replacing the playground that is already there on the right-hand side of the pool as you walk down there. The pavilion is not gonna be anywhere near that location.
No, I realize that. I'm just saying that the pavilion committee, when there was this original walkthrough, one of the ideas they gave to, I forgot the name of the company that is working with it, was that consider there being a playground there. Should we move the playground? And they talked about moving it, but now we're saying we're looking at taking what we have there and fixing it up.
Yeah,
Just be aware that you might be working not at cross purposes, but trying to reinvent the wheel.
I think, Carol, we're gonna go ahead and fix the playground where it is, which makes it unnecessary for the pavilion committee to think about playgrounds down at Glass Field, if there's ever a pavilion there.
Okay.
Which is another question. So I think
Okay.
we just do one thing at a time.
Okay,
We work together.
No. But that's what she's saying. I'm saying, let's not make this more complicated.
Well, maybe the SIC, maybe that's a subcommittee. Pavilion committee is a subcommittee of the SIC.
Yes.
Okay.
And
And, who's gonna be doing this?
well, I was gonna ask Ruth and Colleen and Jen Boyce to take it on.
We have another comment?
David, you want to be part of that committee?
We have another comment
Okay, yes,
from Mike Citron.
Mike,
Yes, can you hear me?
yes,
I was just wondering, is there any demand for a pavilion?
any what?
Any demand for
what?
a pavilion?
Mike, we're not talking about the pavilion now, we're talking about the playground.
Oh,
I don't
all right.
think there's any demand, but there's a group that thinks this is a viable idea. And until they come to a conclusion and a recommendation, the town board, I think, has got to let them do the work. But whether there's any demand for it, I don't know. There is clearly demand on the part of some people.
Okay,
Okay, let's get back to the playground. I'm recommending Ruth, Colleen, and Jen Boyce. Is that okay?
Business people in the room.
That's not really with me.
You've got some of the documentation from 10 or 15 years ago, that you started point. What I think you guys should try and do is pull together a plan, a design, get the architects people here to give you a sketch of whatever, get us a cost, and we can make a decision in the next month or two. I'm sure the costs will be reasonable.
Might be 2 or 3.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, but let's plan to get it done by spring.
On the March meeting.
April.
So let me go back to the town board. Can we get a vote on this, please? All in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you. And I will get back
You
to.
need a second, please. I have a first, I don't have a second. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Last item on my list is the status of the property revaluation. You know that we're doing the reval of all properties. We're at the stage now where we have information about each property that the assessor is reviewing and modifying if he feels it is appropriate. We will probably be putting out a note in the next week or two that is kind of frequently asked questions about revaluations that the New York State Real Property Office has, that basically will describe what goes on during a reval, why we do a reval, how it could affect you. So this information will come out like probably before the beginning of February. And then I think we're going to be getting estimated valuations around March 1st or a little thereafter. And basically what we've been told is in a revaluation like this, about a third of the properties go up, a third of the properties stay the same, and a third of the properties go down in valuation. And the significant thing is that our current valuation in aggregate, taxable assessed value is about $314 million. The sum total of all the taxable properties in town. And New York State has assigned for 2023 something called an equalization rate that is 7.71 or 71% of fair market value. So according to New York State, our $314 million in assessed value represents only 71% of the fair market value of our properties. Which means if you do the math, if they're right, the aggregate value of our properties at fair market is close to $440 million. So just to keep it really simple, if we go from 314 to 440, there's no aggregate increase in tax because our tax rate per thousand drops. Now that doesn't mean everybody's property will stay the same, because some appreciate more than others, and that will be factored in. But all this stuff is pretty clearly described in the New York State documentation that we're going to circulate around. And hopefully we'll get this out, and in the March period, we'll all see the valuations on the new property. So that's where we are. Money.
You sent around to us the sales from Columbia County from June of 2020 to June of 21. And the sale prices and the valuations, and they're really fascinating because some of the really high-end properties are way undervalued.
Yes.
And vice versa, some of the, the lower ones are way over, so I think it's gonna really even out. It's really fascinating to track that over that year, and that's what it's gonna be based on.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it'll be based on evaluations and sales through June 30th of 2022.
Okay,
Okay.
so that would be your, is it 1 year?
No, it's 2 or 3 years.
2 or
3 years.
Okay.
3 years.
So that's
36 weeks or 36 months.
Okay, any questions about the property revaluation, where we are? Anybody on Zoom? Anybody in the
No.
audience? Okay. Annual document review, we have, oh, before we do that, let me just go back to one of the CRB proposals. We got a copy of the policy and complaint procedure regarding discrimination and harassment from the CRB. It basically proposed that they become the agency that administers and kind of controls this policy. Right now, under our current law, the town supervisor is the focal point. CRB wants to take that responsibility over. I asked Elena Keen if that were permissible, and her first reaction was, that's not something she would be comfortable with and for research. So I
Okay.
propose we table this until we hear back from Elena.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really giving you an answer.
Well, you said it doesn't sound right to her, but she needs to do something. So that's where we are. All right, annual document review, the financial process manual, the purchasing policy, and the fee schedules. Let's do the financial control policies and the purchasing policy. These have been around for a couple of years. I got no comments from anybody on these in the last 3 or 4 months. Anybody have any questions or comments or concerns about the purchasing policy or the financial control policy? Anybody in the audience? Ever read it? How many has? David, you have two? Okay. Anybody on Zoom have any comments or questions about these policies?
No.
Okay, so if there are no comments or questions from the board, could I get a motion? Well, actually, we have resolutions here. Let me present the resolutions. Financial process manual resolved with the Anglo that the town of Anglo financial process manual is approved as presented. We get a motion to that effect, please. There's a second. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, purchasing policy resolved. The town of Anglo purchasing policy is approved as presented. Motion to that effect, please. Moved and seconded. Who made the motion? David? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much. The third document here is the fee schedule, and this is a little bit more complicated. I've given you 2 versions of the fee schedule, one with red markings, which shows the current versus the proposed fees, with one clean copy. And since these documents went to press, there has been one additional idea made, and that's the inspection fee.
Yeah.
The proposal, this is something I guess that's been discussed by the planning board, the ZBA, NANS, EA, that there be a specific inspection fee of $1,000 that we will impose on properties that, in the judgment of the planning board, I guess, will require extensive inspections prior to a building permit being issued. So that is not in the document yet, but I would like to propose that we add.
Point of information.
Oh, yes.
The zoning laws currently requires that that fee be collected for commercial site plan review. That's all it currently would instruct me, but it states that the town board has to set that amount. So in Nan's memo, she recommended that it be placed on the fee schedule, so it was very obvious that it was required for certain applications and what the amount would be. However, the laws of Ankrum also authorize the planning board to instruct me to collect escrows for other purposes. So having some guidance from the town board specifically related to the inspection for commercial site plan review is good, but also setting it so that it would provide, some guidance for the planning board more broadly.
So Jay, how should we describe this inspection fee? Just a general inspection fee at the discretion of the planning board?
I would use the language inspection escrow. And then,
As needed?
clarified that it's collected for commercial site review and, inspection escrow may be collected for other purposes as well. And then maybe the CRC should take a look at if they want to change the wording of what exactly like would trigger an automatic. And
Yeah, this strikes me as being still not clear.
Is that only for commercial?
that's currently the only one that I was able to identify as explicitly required. However, the planning board is authorized, to or establish escrows so that any type of consultant or any fees incurred during the course of an application are reimbursed by the applicant.
So an escrow in theory does not have to be on the fee schedule. It's just established at the beginning of the process.
Okay, so I'm speaking kind of to Nan's suggestion specifically. The existing fee schedule, which was approved by the town board for 2020, does have those asterisks that reference back other escrows which may be collected. This is a specific escrow that the zoning law states needs to be collected for the commercial site plan review.
It's already in the law, so that can already be done.
It can, but there's no amount. So basically what that process would be is I would go to you or I would go to Monica and I would say, well, how much should I collect? And you would say, well, why don't you talk to Ed and why don't you talk to George? We kind of had that conversation, so.
Well, the number that has come up is $1,000. The question is, do we need to put that on the fee schedule? And you're saying we should put it on the fee schedule. And it should say something like inspection escrow for commercial site plan review and other. That's where I get kind of confused. What else is it that we might use this for besides commercial site plan?
There's certainly other site plans and special use permits that will likely have some expenses at closeout. We'll have some need for a survey as built or, a double check on kind of what the applicant has done prior to closeout that isn't just, building.
So how do we describe that on the fee schedule? Commercial site plan review and other.
I can read you what she says.
Okay.
I think that she says allow for escrow to be collected earlier and easier. Ensure that there's escrow for inspections at the end as per the inspection fee escrow already included in the zoning. That makes sense. I mean, inspection
inspection fee and an escrow are
Can you
different.
put other additional
Yes.
costs?
So
What
should
Jay,
be on the fee schedule.
well, that's the thing, Jay, I think, and Nan suggested we put the inspection escrow on the fee schedule, so people are alerted to it.
Oh, okay.
So it becomes easier for the planning board to say, okay, we're gonna need for you to give us $1,000 in inspection escrow, so we can have an engineer go out and double check your site plan before the building inspector gives you a certificate of occupancy. What we're talking about here is, how do we describe that other than inspection escrow fee or an inspection fee for a commercial site plan? And what? You, any thoughts?
My thoughts are, if we're debating this to this extent and this complexity right now, it ain't ready for prime time. And I have no doubt, and I will tell Jay and certainly Nan, I understand the concept and I agree, but looking at it from the customer's point of view, there is too much latitude here where the inside of the town hall may have a pretty good idea of what's desired, but the customer is still out in the dark. And I would say let's take a month to sharpen the pencil on this and to bring it back, and we can add it to the fee schedule. I have no problem with
Okay,
that.
so let's, Jay, you okay with that? What we're gonna do is basically approve the fee schedule without the inspection fee and figure out how to include the inspection fee next month. Okay? Jay?
Okay, sorry, I was just kind of mentally reviewing the agenda for February. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So any other questions or comments about the fee schedule?
Generally, things are going up.
Yeah, just to give you an idea, in 2022, the costs related to the building department, the planning and zoning departments were $83,000. And the aggregate amount of the fees we collected from planning, zoning, and building was $56,000. So there was a $27,000 deficit in handling building projects and planning board activities. So these changes hopefully will close that gap. Now, a lot's gonna depend on volume and frequency, but I think the important number here, Ed Corrado suggested we increase the building permit fee from $4 per thousand, an estimated cost $5 per thousand. That's a 25% increase. And building department fees make up a bulk of the revenue of the 56, maybe 50,000 of that is building department fees. So if we're increasing that by 25%, we go from 50,000 to $12,500. So we close the gap. We cut the loss in half. And then the other increases in fees that Jay has proposed and Ed has proposed, hopefully will get us to break even, but we're not going to know until we try. And if necessary, we can raise our fees again next year. So, other questions? Colleen?
Just, I know this is a concern also for Jay. How difficult is it for you to amend the fee schedule like in a couple of months or so? That will be a difficulty.
Not difficult at all.
Okay, yeah, because the plans, at least that I see that we're getting from the planning board are becoming more complicated.
Right.
As far as the building site, location, and it needs a lot more review, so she needs the ability to actually institute, some sort of review sometimes before it comes to us, so.
Right.
I know that's why she was kind of going, well, okay, what's going on for February, because we have a very active schedule.
Well, there are a significant number of changes to the planning board fee schedule to take into account more participation from them. The only open issue is how we characterize in my mind, is how to characterize this inspection fee so that it makes sense, so that it covers inspections for commercial site plan and whatever else we want to cover.
Sure.
And we can't really say whatever else we want to cover. Sorry?
Does that involve a change in the law? Because if you currently have a law that says you can collect the inspection fee for the site plan. But if you want to collect other things, shouldn't that be also in the zoning law
Yeah,
too?
the
So that
DRC
you've got a
will-
more, it's a little bit more complex.
If we make this an inspection fee instead of an inspection escrow, we can just put it in the fee schedule, can't we?
Without an explanation? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, if we just say inspection fee as required, $1,000. That's that, maybe that's the solution.
That's gonna say to everybody who comes in, I'm gonna have to pay $1,000.
I think so.
I think that creates more ambiguity
Yeah.
and gives the planning board more discretion, which may be a problem. Like what I think Nan was contemplating was that it would be very clear that for this application, this amount would be collected. However, that amount can only be collected for commercial site plan review. Currently, what Colleen is talking about
Right.
would be a discussion for the CRC to make recommendations.
Okay, so you can't really put an inspection escrow in for anything other than commercial site plan at this point.
Well, the underlying law, allows the escrow to be collected for other things as well. So,
But not inspection escrow.
right,
Right, like, of course, we can pull an escrow on a different,
He
for different things.
was right that this is not yet technical practice. I think we need to think this thing through more clearly and deal with it next time or whenever we put it up. Yeah.
Unless you adopted it as the law is currently and just saying that it's being collected, we're collecting this for commercial site plan review.
You put that
That's
on,
what your law is right now,
Right.
so
or you're suggesting we just make that statement on the fee schedule.
you could, and then it would allow Jay a little more,
yes,
a better ability to actually go ahead and collect that. Should we get a commercial site plan reviews while the ZRC is maybe working on other, options.
Okay, that sounds good to me. Is that okay with you?
I'm a little concerned about the flexibility of it, but for the time being,
Well, what we're gonna say is inspection escrow for a commercial site plan. Period.
but typically with an escrow, there is a amount deposited.
Right.
The entire amount may not be used.
And whatever is not
and
used
it's
is given back.
refunded.
Yes.
But I'm hearing when we're talking this about fee is 1,000 is 1,000 is 1,000. Owning it up, you're gonna lose.
No, I think what I was thinking was we say inspection escrow, put it on the fee schedule just to give it some visibility, $1,000, but it's an escrow, and if we don't use it, you get it back.
Worded in that vein, and I'm able to ride with it.
Is that okay with you, Jim?
It's a fee and an escrow.
Sorry?
It's a fee and an escrow.
No, it's just an escrow. On the
Just,
Schedule.
on the fee schedule, and inspection escrow, $1,000. It sort of goes to the point that says anything that is not used for inspections will be refunded. Okay.
Now, this is for commercial site plans only?
Yes,
It's not for a homeowner's site.
no, commercial. Okay,
That needs to be made clear.
So, yeah, how does that work if you have your business by your house and you technically consider commercial? So would you fall under that then? If, like, say, for example, I want to put a shop at my house? Like a garage, I try to get done. Pissing the neighbors off.
I don't know, how would that be treated?
Okay, so,
Yeah, we're back, buddy.
the wonderful thing is that we are improving the planning process. So when we send applications to NAN initially, we will make kind of some determinations. And those determinations will go to the planning board as recommendations. So for your hypothetical, she would probably make a determination that says this requires commercial site plan review, or this is a low impact home occupation, not requiring commercial site plan review. So based on the recommendations of an expert, the planning board and myself would have more guidance on, you know, where the line is basically.
Okay, I guess that's probably the best answer we're gonna have for now. Okay, then I'm proposing that we approve the fee schedule with the addition of an item called inspection escrow for commercial site plan, $1,000 asterisk. Any amounts not used will be refunded. And that will go on the planning board page down toward the bottom. Okay, so that is the recommendation. Is there a motion to approve such document?
So.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Amy. Any further questions or comments? Let's do a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Hunt. Yes. Councilwoman Gold. Yes. Supervisor Bassett,
Yes.
Town Councilman Boyce,
Yes.
Town Councilman Clark.
Yes.
There you go.
The fee schedule has been approved after much debate, and it was a good conversation. Thank you all very much. One comment on the employee handbook. I have sent it to the HR firm that designed it for us 12 years ago for updates. For whatever New York State law requires. I've also sent them revised copies of our harassment law and our violence policy, and I will send them copies of the TRB documents. So we can incorporate those in, and when we get that back with all the new stuff, hopefully in the next month, we'll approve the employee handbook at the next meeting. Okay, before we get to town board member comments, let me run through a couple of other resolutions. The town court needs to open a checking account for Justice Susan Flam. The resolution is resolved that the Anchorage Town Justice Susan Flam is requested and authorized to open a fine account at Bank of Greene County that shall be titled Town of Anchorage Justice Flam Fine Account, that Justice Flam shall be the sole signatory on this account. And that resolution was requested by the bank in order to open the account. So could I get a motion to approve that resolution, please? Amy, thank you. Second? You, thank you. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Number 5, of Columbia County Department, LIS Department. They annually send us a contract that provides services in case we need them. $60 an hour if we need their help. So we have a resolution here, resolved that the Anchorage Town Supervisor is authorized to enter into an agreement with the Columbia County LIS Department to provide technology support to the town of Anchorage on an as needed basis in 2023. Can I get a motion to approve that, please? You, thank you. David, thank you. All in favor?
Yeah, aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, good. Let's now go to town board committee member comments. Mr. Boyce.
We've been here long enough.
Is that a motion to adjourn? Mr. Clark.
Sorry, David, I'm going to use your time.
Okay.
I knew you were gonna, that's why.
I will refer the board members to a memo that I sent them electronically last night and then hard copy here at this meeting, along with the resolution, along with the proposed local law number 1 of 2023. As I identify in the explanatory memo, basically this emanates from the zoning revision committee's charge to bring all town land use regulations into consonance with the 2019 comp plan. And doing that, there are 2 steps. One task is to implement the guidance in the comp plan. The other is to consider adjustments based upon real world experience by the planning board, the building department, and other entities, including by community members. I mentioned that the packet has a resolution in it and a proposed local law number 1. What does local law number 1 do? It places a moratorium, a temporary prohibition on review and approval of abbreviated site plans, on site plans, on special use permits, and on building permits for all hospitality related uses. This will afford the town opportunity to address long-range planning and zoning objectives to ensure that they are indeed consistent with the comp plan. What does it affect? It affects 21 hospitality-related uses, which I identify in the law. I will further explain that no application for a cited hospitality-related use will be accepted if we adopt this moratorium. No application for a cited hospitality-related use will be reviewed by any town body, nor certainly decided during the period of moratorium. Bottom line, all action on those particular uses stops. Are there exceptions? Yes. It does not affect applications to renew valid existing SUPs for any hospitality-related use. And it does not apply to applications to amend site plans for any hospitality-related use if that site plan has already been completed, finalized, signed, stamped, done. And if the sought amendment that an applicant might want does not expand, enlarge, or intensify the existing use. Basically, it was simply moving a structure 10 feet from here to there on the second thought. Go ahead and take a look. How long is the moratorium to be in effect? It will be in effect for 9 months. If necessary, if necessary, if necessary. It can be extended by 2 additional periods of up to 6 months each. I will call to your attention also that this proposed local law is a type 2 action under New York State SECRA. Therefore, it does not require the typical SECRA review that we normally have undergo. Why is it an exempted type 2 action? Because it's already been determined by the state not to have a significant adverse impact on the environment. So it's categorically excluded. Where did this come from? Basically, I've been working with Nan and with John Lyons for several weeks. Nan drafted and strongly recommends this moratorium. John Lyons provided the template that Nan was responding to. He reviewed the draft, he produced the final version, and actually there are even a couple of handwritten changes that he made after I had this run off with Stacy Moore yesterday. So that's where we're at. What are the steps I would look for from the town board this evening? Adopt the introductory resolution, which we'll go through in just a moment. It is required to refer this, as we normally do, to the Columbia County Planning Board. It is required, of course, that we schedule a public hearing, and I would propose that we take a look at the 16th of February at whatever time seems appropriate. And we do direct the town clerk by the resolution to send and the post proper public hearing notices. After all of that occurs, the town board would conduct a public hearing, would review the Columbia County Planning Board responses. If community's responses as a result of the hearing. We'll deliberate among ourselves and with the public and obviously vote. So that takes you to the resolution itself. Before going to that, I simply point out to you that in the local law that I have given to you in hard copy, at the top of page 3, there is a little ED added in the top line to need. John Lyons, even after he finished this, was still polishing and asked that I change need to needed. And over on page 4, he asked that we insert does not propose the expansion, enlargement, or intensification of the existing hospitality use. Very fine-tuned indeed. So going to the resolution. You can read for yourself, but whereas this introduces the proposed local law that establishes a moratorium, as I've explained it, that the moratorium is proposed in the form of a local law pursuant to various state authorities that are given here, that the moratorium is proposed to further implement the town comp plan, that it is done pursuant to New York State Municipal Home Rule Law, and that you all had already received this. Therefore, resolved that we introduce this, that it is classified as a type 2 action, therefore not subject to secret review, that the town board directs that the proposed law be referred to the Columbia County Planning Board, that we set a public hearing date, and I would ask that we pause now, 16th February, which is 6:30 or 6:45, depending on which way you want to go.
Let's go 6:45, and we'll do the public hearing on the firefighter exemption at 7.
Sounds good, 6:45 on the 16th of February. And these events will be duly publicized by the town clerk. And with all that, I move that we adopt the introductory resolution I have just discussed.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Anybody in the audience? Anybody on Zoom?
Nope.
Okay.
Existing hospitality.
All right, in here.
How does that refer to the existing hospitality related learning? Hospitality, what are they referring to?
She's asking for you to define what hospitality, property means.
Hospitality related uses, I would rather identify as show them to you in the law. But basically, hospitality related uses are commercial uses that provide food, drink, and accommodations for customers, and they may also provide recreational facilities and activities, personal services, amenities, and event space.
Got it.
Thank you. Good. Other questions or comments? So we have
Okay, so, obviously I just saw this, has the zoning enforcement officer and code enforcement officer been aware of this? I'm just wondering, have those departments seen this proposal yet?
That is part of what happens if we adopt the resolution to have this reviewed.
Okay.
Okay, good question. Other comments or questions? We have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote.
Supervisor Bassett,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Boyce,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gold, yes. Councilwoman Hunt, yes.
Thank you, and the resolution has been adopted. And we will reconvene on this matter next month.
And hard copies will be available on the table, they already are.
Okay, thank you. Amy?
No, I don't have anything else. Good work.
Bonnie? Okay, Jim?
Okay, I'll start off with my 284 agreement for this year.
I'll go through it, and I sent it out this morning, but Art said it was kind of, came out kind of blurry in the email. So I only have this one copy here, I'll go through it. For general repairs, a sum of $446,000, that's my total money I have spent on roads this year between our budget and the CHIPS funds. Will be spent on our 55 miles. Permanent repairs will include repaving 1 more mile of Hall Hill, which we started last year. And I plan to chip seal 7.8, another 7.8 miles. That will include Hunter Mountain, 2 miles, Jewel Town, 2.1, and south end of East Anchor Road, 2.5 miles. And I plan to double shoot, which is 2 quarts oil and stone, Tim's Road, 0.8 miles, and Naira Road, 0.4. That's at a cost not to exceed $165,000, and the project I mentioned before is not to exceed 135 or 1 mile away.
And you need for us to sign it, well, you got that copy?
Yeah.
Why don't you pass that around, and we can sign it? Okay, thank you, Joe. What else?
Oh, I got lots.
Yes, sign it, pass it around.
We've been kind of quiet on the snow department up until now. I think that's about to change. We had 9 days where we conducted operations in December, and now 3 so far in January. We're bursting at the seams of sand and salt. We're ready. Also been hauling in some materials for next year's projects, for this year's now. And we had a couple wind events. One especially on 2 days before Christmas, where the trees are down all the way down. And blew up that. We reset the cannon in front of the firehouse after it was toppled over when a vehicle struck it, making a turn. Got that reset up right. And I've asked for estimates to replace the bodies on our 2 2015 Kenworths. Both bodies have been welded numerous times in the same place. It's a defect that the company agrees is aware of and admits it's a weakness. They've offered to give us a discount on new bodies to replace these. The amount remains to be seen. I want to go over the sites, dump style bodies like we have on our other 2 trucks that work quite well for us. These bodies we have are a different style that Jim MacArthur thought might be a good idea, and they turned out not to be so good.
What kind of trucks are those?
The 2 Kenworths,
What are they?
they're identical. They're the yellow ones.
Pickup.
No, the big trucks, the big trucks.
These are your flash trucks, right?
Yes. These bodies, like I say, they've been welded numerous times, and I think it's reasonable to expect we get at least another 15 years out of these trucks to do this.
You don't know what the cost is yet, though.
I don't know what it is yet, no, I was hoping to get the estimate today, right?
Okay.
And I've also been informed that the new plow truck recently ordered may arrive sooner than expected. We might have a performance plan.
Awesome, good.
And I just got this today, after repeated inquiries about the status of the bucket truck that we've been waiting for 2 years. As I've been suspecting for some time, the chassis for that is not available as ordered. Ford is not gonna go it. You kind of knows what that's all about. And they quoted 2 options. First is to order another Ford, which hasn't been built yet, go down the same rabbit hole and work with that one. Or this company has 2 Dodge Ram trucks in their possession in Texas that they can get up here. But there's an additional cost to it. The original cost of this truck was $84,180. And the quote I got today is for $96,285.
Well, but that quote was from 2 years ago, right?
Yes, it was for a 2022 truck,
And this would be,
or 23. Oh, no, wait a minute. I mean,
and it'll be in 2024.
no, they already have these 22, these are 22 trucks.
And we've been chasing the same thing with the fire district, that Chevy and Ford just are not making anything,
Yeah.
GMC. you can't get them.
They have these,
The only thing you can put your hands on is a Dodge.
and
We
then,
faced the same thing with the van, chased that van around the year, trying to go. And for what the prices are doing, the fact that the price of that isn't up $10,000,
it's up 12.
well, I mean, you know, isn't up that much,
Why don't we keep trying to use Jim Stickles' bucket on a per use basis? And that strikes me as being.
We could have used it this week and it wasn't down there. He was using it himself. You know,
I was
it's
gonna
not-
say, there's gonna be time for you need it, and he's gonna have to be busy, that's
Yeah.
why he's got it,
Yeah,
cause he needs it.
that's it, you know. It's up to you guys what you want to do.
Well, I think we should keep trying to use Jim's truck. And work it out with him. What does the rest of the board think? David, what do you think?
We were willing to go the route of purchasing a truck, I don't know how many months ago. I know what the price of my, I know the price I bought a truck in 2017, and I just looked at replacing it, and it was triple the cost. And, I mean, if we thought it was a good idea then, I don't think this price is that much different. I think we should go ahead with it personally, but that's just where it is, because equipment costs are skyrocketing, and if you're gonna need to use it, you're gonna need to use it.
That one of Stickles too, we should, something could happen to, you know, something break on it while we're using it, you know. Who's gonna, we probably need to start paying for that. You know, we get this one, I'm sure it'll have a warranty.
What happened to the rental idea?
Well, this is what I'm doing with the
Right.
local. The rental is, you know, again, you know, you need it when you need it. You know, you got a rental, you have to arrange for it a month or two ahead of time. And when you rent it, you're committed, you know, like we usually use it a lot during this time of year. But weather plays a role, whether you can go out and use it or not. You know, you kind of pick your day, your days when you can do it.
So you can schedule it for a day, but if the weather's not good, you're not going.
You know, if I rent one, I got it for a week and, say $1,500 for a week to rent one, that's probably way cheap, but
So the original truck that we approved
it was 84,000.
is anything, we can't get it,
You know,
we have to wait.
Ford is not building that.
No, we can get. For the offering of the truck that is 94, 96.
96 to.
How soon could you get that ordered? If you said yes, how long would it take?
I'm guessing they have this truck in Texas, they get it up here and put it together, I'd say we'd have it by April or May. Would be my guess.
Okay, so. You, any thoughts?
It's in the capital plan, or was at the
Yes, it is.
lower price. Not going down. The two problems that Jim and David cited with Ford and Chevy are well known. It's, I tilt toward Jim's purchase.
Amy, what do you think?
Pay now or pay later kind of situation, I think, so.
Okay, so you're okay, Bonnie?
I referred against it in the first place, but we did approve it, so.
Okay, so would somebody like to make a motion to approve Jim's purchasing a bucket truck?
Which one?
The Dodge.
The Dodge,
Yes. I make the motion.
For approximately 96?
96,285.
Okay, David made the motion, is there a second?
There is.
Use, okay, any further questions or comments?
The less expensive one, the $92,000 one?
Well, that was I was guesstimating that, I got the firm price on it here. Were you looking at my,
The monthly report?
yeah, it was not, yeah.
then plus freight to get it here, so it must be, you know,
What's the bottom line?
bottom line is 96,285.
That's including.
Yes, as delivered here.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, let's do a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Hunt. Sure. Now is that a definite maybe or a yes or no? Councilwoman Gold. Yeah, I can get a ride.
You got it.
Supervisor Bassi.
Yes,
Town Councilman Boyce.
Yes.
Town Councilman Clark.
Yes.
I want to go that too.
okay, the purchase is approved, I guess, for not to exceed. Yes, okay, what else, Jim?
And I gave you all my road and vehicle maintenance logs for the last year.
Yep,
For your reading pleasure, that's all I have. Thank you.
excellent, thank you, any questions for Jim? Anybody in the audience? Anybody on Zoom?
No.
Okay, Monica is not here, you probably all heard, she's out feeling not good. She's had stomach virus, I guess.
And a bowl. Yeah, bowl.
So hopefully she'll be back early next week, feeling better.
You got it, hopefully.
Okay, number 10, review the approve the budget adjustments, warrant and pay the bills. I have budget adjustments to propose, just one of a couple of $800, $884, building department primarily in parks. So can I get a motion to approve the budget adjustments as presented, please? Thank you, David, your second. All in favor? Aye, anybody opposed? Okay, I'm circulating the budget adjustments. Right. So when you get the budget adjustments, please sign it and circulate it back around. But now I would request a motion to approve the warrants and pay the bills.
So move.
There's a second. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Now we have a couple of more resolutions of appreciation for members of our committees who have long-standing service. And there's a resolution of appreciation for John Ingram, for Susan Flam, and for Jim Stickle. The language of these resolutions is the same as for Jamie. So I will just read John Ingram's resolution of appreciation for John Ingram, dated January 19, 2023. Resolved that the Yankton Town Board recognizes and appreciates the valuable contributions that John Ingram has made to the town of Ancrum over the 12 years of his public service as a member of, and for 9 years as chair of the Yankton Planning Board. The Yankton Town Board thanks John for his commitment to the Yankton community, wishes him continued success in all his future activities, and looks forward to his continued participation in town and community activities. And we have the same resolution of appreciation for Susan Flam and for Jim Stickle. So I would appreciate a motion to approve these resolutions as presented. Moved, is there a second? Second, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much. And public comment period. Anybody from the public have any comments? Anybody in Zoom? No.
One last thing with town business, the town of Ancrum Port is, announcing that their books are open for inspection, for the spring 22 years. The annual report will be given at the next town board meeting, but the books are open. The books are always open for anybody to come in on the town board, to ask questions about different things. We have a new judge this year, so it's a relearning experience for all of us. So I just wanted to, according to OCA, we have to announce to the town board that our books are open for inspection.
Okay,
So
good, thank you.
that has been done, so.
Thank you very much. Okay, public comments? If not, before we adjourn, I would like to make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss the performance history of particular individuals. Second. Second, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you all. Good to see you. For a second,
Second.
David made a motion, you seconded, all in favor? Aye. Aye, we're adjourned. Thank you very much. 9:04.